now we talk a bit about, okay, what are actually the challenges? Because to be always non-violent, it can be quite challenging. So he said, okay, what can help you? What is actually meant then with violent communication? And as you see here, in front of you, it's a jackal. He's also using a lot of times the jackal for violent communication and the giraffe for non-violent communication. And I like the way he uses actually the giraffe for the non-violent communication, because the giraffe has actually the largest heart. And like you say, a big part of nonviolent communication is about reflecting. And yeah, when you're as like a giraffe, you can reflect very easily, I think, from a distance to what you're doing yourself, to your own behavior. So in front of you is not the giraffe, but the jackal. So I'm going a little bit about what does Rosenberg actually sees as violent communication. Violent communication, he said, if you make judgments, especially moralistic judgments, how you think things should be. He said that's quite violent, because actually what you do is that you're expressing yourself and your own needs instead of also looking to the other side. What their needs are. So he said moralistic judgment used so often, but it can be come across very violently, because people cannot see it as from the other side as they are seen. Also, he said what sometimes happens is people start to compare their own lives with the lives let's say, or your own life with the life of others, so you can be violent towards yourself, because he said violent communication can be used to other persons, but you can also use it for yourself. So let's say, for example, I have two sisters, and I call one of my sisters and said to the other sister, the other sister was on my birthday the whole evening. And then you see already there's something I'm comparing, and because she was not. So the other person already feel judged or blamed because I start to compare. So if you look to another point, what can be quite violent is if you deny your own responsibility. As I said before, this non-violent communication methods can also be seen as a method of taking your own responsibility. So denying your own responsibility means, for example, that you don't take your responsibility for your own feelings and your own reactions, etc. Or blaming somebody else for your feelings. What already I touched upon before, also what can be violent communication is if you make your request, the fourth one of the fourth element, if you make your request come across as a demand, so the other person don't have a choice. That is also seen as violent communication. Also, you can see, of course, when let's say when people start to give advice and you didn't even ask for advice. That can be sometimes quite difficult for people to accept, because they don't feel, let's say I start to give advice to someone who didn't ask. That cannot always come across very nicely for the other person. Or you break off someone, or you start to question somebody about something, or whatever. This can be, but it's always, I think, a very important one. If you tell a story and at a certain moment the other person start to tell their own story, I think that's a very common one. But Rosenberg said that's also one of the ways what falls on the violent communication, because you don't have space. He always said, he says, violent, you cannot be always non-violent, but you can always take responsibility for when you're violent, and then you also have to deal with the outcome of it. So these are the challenges.